When you've been glued to a cornice for 128 consecutive years, you get philosophical. You also get bored, sun-bleached, rain-pitted, and you develop an intimate knowledge of what downtown air pollution does to stone sinuses. My name, according to the architect, scribbles is Gurgulus number 4, south-facing, but nobody calls me that anymore. These days I go by Rocky the Punchline Parch. I'm the first gargoyle on record to pivot from rainspout to stand-up, and I owe it all to pigeon hecklers and office workers on lunch break who'll applaud anything that isn't a spreadsheet. I used to think my purpose was purely functional. 1. Divert rainfall away from the facade. 2. Frighten away evil spirits, lawyers, and other airborne nuisances. 3. Look menacing in postcards. But the 21st century showed up, and guess what? Nobody's afraid of gargoyles anymore. People carry tiny glowing rectangles with enough cat videos to pacify Beelzebub himself. My scare factor ranks somewhere between a garden gnome and a decorative door knocker shaped like Poseidon's butt. So I started talking. Well, muttering to myself, at first, jokes about the stockbrokers scuttling below like caffeinated ants, observations about clouds that resembled celebrity mugshots, and commentary on pigeons who treated me like an artisanal restroom. One dreary Tuesday I had what fleshlings call a breakthrough set, though at the time I assumed I was merely losing my marbles, figuratively and, owing to erosion, literally. A flock of pigeons had gathered on the ledge opposite, cooing with the charismatic confidence of lounge singers. I grumbled, "Hey Larry, did you remember to tip your waiter? Or are you planning to pay in white splatters again?" The pigeons paused. Then, miraculously, they cooed in unison, the avian equivalent of laughter. Encouraged, I continued, "Why did the pigeon cross Wall Street? To prove to the hedge fund quants he had more liquid assets." Feathers quivered with delight. One portly bird nearly toppled backward from giggle-induced imbalance. I'd discovered a niche demographic, winged city pun connoisseurs. Still, I wanted a tougher crowd. Pigeons will laugh at anything that isn't a hawk. Enter the office workers. Our building is across the alley from Glass Tech Tower, a prism of corporate ambition, where humans in breathable fabrics flock to the rooftop garden at precisely 12:17 p.m. daily. They chew overpriced salads, scroll through phones, and pretend the skyline is a nature documentary. That Tuesday, as I riffed to the pigeons about the irony of granite statues developing body image issues from marble Instagram influencers, I noticed a cluster of humans staring. One woman in a cobalt blazer elbowed her friend. "Did that gargoyle just say body image issues?" The friend squinted. "I think the rooftop speakers are playing a podcast." "Speakers, my calcite caboose!" That was me, baby. So I leaned into the wind, projected my voice like a Shakespearean waterspout, and went full monologue. "Ladies, gentlemen, and birds who still owe me rent, welcome to Rocky's midday marvelous laugh-a-thon. Remember, folks, I've been standing in the same pose since your great-grandparents invested in whale oil futures, so if I can crack a smile, so can you." A hush. Then a ripple of tentative chuckles. You could hear the collective thought. Did he just address us? Office workers aren't used to being singled out by masonry. They're used to elevator small talk like, "Hot enough for ya?" or "Forward that synergy deck when you get a sec." So I gave them more. "I try to stay hip," I said. "Last week I downloaded an update. Unfortunately, it was just more bird poop. iOS? More like IOOs." This time, the laugh was unmistakable. The cobalt blazer woman spat a shred of kale and clapped. Victory felt like a power wash to the soul. For the next month, I honed my craft. Noon to 1, 5 days a week, weather permitting, though let's face it, I was weather permitting before the concept existed. My audience comprised pigeons on the parapet, seagulls on layovers between landfill buffets, and cubicle escapees who brought me offerings of foam dart. One day, a sticky note with a smiley face the next. Some documented my sets on their phones. My stony heart warmed when Rocky Rolls began trending locally, right? Between Bring Your Ferret to Work and Bagelgate. Here's a sample routine from week 3. Quick survey, show of hands, well, wings, tentacles, whatever. How many of you have ever relied on a dating app? I tried Gargoyle Grinder. App description promised hot, heavy, and hewn from limestone. I matched with a fountain cherub. We chatted. She ghosted me literally. Turns out she was possessed by an actual ghost. Awkward. Cue laughter, feathers fluttering like confetti. Office worker Hank, a guy with suspenders and an emotional support fanny pack, bellowed, "Give it up for Rocky!" He started a slow clap that the pigeons attempted to mimic by slapping their wings against the railings. Trust me, nothing inflates an ego faster than a winged standing ovation. Of course, no comic's origin saga is complete without a nemesis. Mine arrived during week 4 in the form of Harold the Hawk, soaring agent of intimidation, self-righteous raptor, and self-appointed policeman of the Skyline's comedy scene. He perched 3 yards from my stage one sunny Wednesday and glared like a tax auditor with talons. I opened with, "Great to see you, Harold. Nice feathers. Purchased the deluxe Airstream package, did we?" He screeched. The pigeons scattered to the fire escape, but the humans stayed, entranced by the tension. I pivoted into observational humor. Notice how hawks treat everyone else like a buffet but still expect universal adoration? Harold here calls it food chain privilege. Personally, I chain him to a food truck so the churro oil ruins his plumage. The crowd roared. Herald of Talons flapped away in a huff, dignity trailing behind like a tattered streamer. Victory again. I felt invincible. But as any veteran entertainer knows, the higher the pedestal, the greater the chance of bird excrement. Metaphorically and otherwise. Friday of that week, the Glass Tech HR department distributed a memo. Unscheduled rooftop performances violate safety codes 14B through 14D. Translation: my act was now contraband. I watched office workers reading the memo. Frowns deepening like potholes after a harsh winter. Pigeons huddled, whispering conspiratorially. One plump fellow, named Morris, waddled over and cooed something that sounded suspiciously like, "Time for underground comedy." I spent the weekend stewing. Rainwater trickled through my gullet, my chisel-carved jaw clenched. Humans love bureaucracy almost as much as they love ignoring it, so there had to be a workaround. Enter Brenda, janitor extraordinaire and secret comedy aficionado. Monday at dawn, she popped onto the rooftop holding a walkie-talkie. "Hear the suits shut you down," she whispered. "I'm not missing my midday laugh. We'll go guerrilla. I'll stream you through the building, PA. They think they're getting motivational affirmations. Tough luck." Thus, the first recorded instance of a Gargoyle podcast was born. Rocky Talks. Brenda placed a cordless mic in my outstretched claw, gaffer taped to keep from slipping. At 12:17 sharp, I launched, "Attention Glass Tech Tower. This is your stone-cold conscience speaking. Reminder, if you can't be the reason someone smiles today, at least be the reason someone files an entertaining HR complaint." Applause erupted from windows on 10 separate floors. I could hear cubicle drones banging staplers like makeshift castanets. It was glorious. Corporate sent a follow-up memo complaining the motivational messages were too motivating, prompting extended bathroom breaks and a spike in stapler percussion accidents. My legend grew. A college radio station invited me for an interview. The producer, a grad student who thought Gothic Revival was a band, asked me about my influences. I said, "I'm part stoic philosopher, part insult comic, part rain gutter. Mix Don Rickles with Epictetus and add drainage capability." He nodded as if that were normal, but fame is as fickle as a squirrel on espresso. By week 6, I experienced my first bomb. The material was tight, delivery crisp, pigeons punctual, yet the humans remained distracted, thumbs flicking screens. I started with fresh material. Ever notice how smartphones are like gargoyles? We both watch you pee if you forget to close the door. Crickets, well, pigeons pretending to be statues. I panicked, riffed it. What's the difference between a PowerPoint and medieval torture? Torture ends eventually, a lone cough. Turns out the building across the alley had upgraded windows to high-efficiency triple-pane glass. My voice now ricocheted oddly, diluting punchlines. Besides, they'd heard it all. Novelty decays faster than sandstone under acid rain. Cue existential crisis. I contemplated retirement, fade into ornamental anonymity, let pigeon poop be my final mic drop. But I couldn't abandon the birds who believed in me, or Brenda who'd started selling bootleg rock-solid laughs t-shirts in the lobby. I needed reinvention. I binge-watched stand-up specials via reflections in a nearby window, subtitles only. I can't move enough to see the screen head-on. I noticed something: vulnerability. Humans adore it. So I penned confessions of a weather-beaten wisecrack, acing about my deepest insecurities, cracks that hurt when it freezes, fear of urban redevelopment removing gargoyles altogether, jealousy of fountains that get coins instead of gum wrappers. I debuted the new material the following Tuesday. Good afternoon, cafeteria escape artists. Real talk every winter, water seeps inside me. Then it freezes, expands, and my right nostril chips. Do you know how embarrassing it is to snot limestone snowflakes? It's like sneezing razors. Self-care? I can't apply lotion. Best I can do is pray the acid rain has a soothing, pH-balanced formula. Silence, then applause. Fingers snapped in poetry slam respect. Someone shouted, "We love you, Rocky!" A pigeon landed on my noggin and patted me with a wing. The vulnerability angle worked. I'd added pathos to puns, sorrow to snark. Turns out humans appreciate layered, sedimentary humor. By week 8, my midday show was more popular than the building's official wellness workshop, Yoga for Yuppies. Management finally capitulated, issuing a new memo. Effective immediately, the Rooftop Gargoyle performance is approved as an employee morale initiative. Attendance counts toward mandatory mindfulness hours, BYO lunch. Victory, legitimized. They installed a small, eroded, stone-colored stage light so I'd pop against the skyline for social media. I told them I popped just fine. Last hailstorm took off half my elbow, but they insisted. Worse, a synergy consultant suggested corporate sponsorship. Comedy powered by Grow, the kale-based energy drink. I refused. Gargoyles may crack, but we don't sell out for kale. Still, resources helped. Brenda smuggled up a wireless speaker so everyone could hear without me roaring my larynx to gravel. Hank in suspenders designed a makeshift curtain, 2 umbrellas duct-taped between satellite dishes, raised before showtime, parted with dramatic flourish when I began. Pigeons served as ushers, keeping latecomers' shoelaces untied if they arrived mid-joke. I expanded my routine beyond anecdotes into prop comedy. Ever see a gargoyle juggle office supplies with 0 arm mobility? It's mostly balancing staplers on my horns while pigeons flutter by to provide dramatic tension. The crowd adored it, even when a rogue stapler plunged 30 stories and nearly filed for workers' comp on its own. With success came media attention. A breakfast show anchor tried to interview me via helicopter. The whir drowned out every answer. Anchor, how does it feel to be a rock star guile? Me, like being a paperwhite with an ego? Anchor, what? Me, exactly. They aired subtitles that read, Stone Sound. Exposure is exposure. I faced creative drought again when Harold the Hawk returned, now with a lawyer. They claimed verbal harassment and emotional distress. I countered with, "Your Honor, my client is literally a bloodthirsty sky shark." Case dismissed due to lack of jurisdiction. The courtroom didn't extend to building ledges. But the incident sparked a fresh comedy goldmine, legal humor. "I'm writing a legal thriller," I announced one day. Working title, Talons of Justice, Order in the Courtship. It's about a hawk who sues a gargoyle for calcium deficiency caused by weak punchlines. Spoiler, the gargoyle settles out of courts. The crowd lost it. Pigeons flapped like ticker tape. Hank clapped so hard his Fitbit thought he'd run a marathon and awarded him a digital trophy. Now I know what you're thinking. What about romance? Aren't gargoyles famously loveless? Wrong. Week 10, during a windy Thursday, I spotted her Serafina, a newly installed neo-Gothic grotesque on the adjacent condo tower. She had cheekbones sharper than tax season and a spout that could redirect Niagara. I worked her into my act for flirting purposes. Folks, give it up for my stony sweetheart across the way. She's so hot the sun files restraining orders to keep a safe distance. If I had knees, they'd be weak. Serafina didn't laugh. Strict HOA rules forbid new fixtures from interacting with commoners until inspection. but I swear the corner of her gargoyle grin twitched. Romance by zoning permit, story of my lithic life. Around week 12, management unveiled a renovated rooftop lounge with beanbags, succulents, and a microbrewery tap labeled Rock Ale. They asked me for branding input. I suggested stout architecture or Belgian buttress, but they stuck with Rock Ale because Synergy consultants have imaginations carved from oatmeal. I became part of the onboarding tour. Conference rooms here, bathrooms there, and if you need a mental health break, listen to Rocky at Noon. Warning: side effects include laughter, perspective, and pigeon friendships. HR even printed disclaimers: Rocky's jokes are his own and do not reflect the official stance of Glass Tech, unless they're funny, in which case we claim them. One rainy day, attendance was low. Humans prefer not to soak their quinoa bowls, but the pigeons arrived wearing droplets like sequins. I contemplated canceling until Brenda cracked open an umbrella, placed a Bluetooth speaker under it, and streamed me to the cafeteria. Remote comedy, she said. If corporate can do remote work, you can do remote snark. So I performed to an invisible crowd. I pictured them, forkfuls of leftover lasagna paused midair, eyes glued to ceiling speakers. I told a story. Back in 1904, a thunderstorm rolled in so fierce even the lightning wore a life jacket. I channeled the downpour through my mouth, right onto a certain banker's brand new bowler hat. He blamed structural flaws. I called it meteorological commentary on income inequality. Laughter echoed from the vents. The cafeteria's acoustics gave my voice a baritone reverb, like Morgan Freeman narrating a Blender commercial. I realized then that comedy isn't a place. It's a slippery exchange of observation and recognition. If a gargoyle cracks a joke in the rain and someone somewhere giggles into tomato bisque, it counts. Fame plateaued into routine blissful, grindstone fame. I'd open with topical humor. Today's forecast, partly cloudy with a 30% chance of executive bonuses precipitating on the workforce. Umbrellas not provided. Middle segment, personal anecdote about sun damage or urban wildlife. Closer, call and response chant with pigeons. Audience repeated my tagline, rock on and rock steady. Pigeons cooed the bass line, workers clapped overhead. A weird, beautiful symphony. Then, one fateful Thursday, the city announced a high-rise maintenance program. Scaffolding appeared. Rumors of sandblasting floated on office gossip like helium balloons. Panic gripped my jointless bones. Sandblasting erases details, nose ridges, toothy grin, comedic timing, all gone. Brenda stormed the building manager's office, armed with a petition of 200 signatures, plus 13 claw prints and one fanny pack monogram. She argued artistic merit, cultural value, and emotional ROI. Management shrugged. Safety first, they said. Translation: we found a Groupon for sandblasting. Showtime approached. I addressed the crowd. Friends, feathered and otherwise, they plan to polish me like a general resume. I might come out looking like a generic chess piece, so tonight, I need your laughter etched into memory deeper than erosion can touch. I performed my heart-out jokes, old and new, vulnerabilities aired like laundry flapping from a medieval turret. I even tried physical comedy, shaking so hard pigeons used my vibrations as a foot massage. Hank cried, a grown man wiping tears with a lanyard. Brenda filmed everything. Serafina, still stoic, flicked a drop of rain in solidarity. Next morning, I braced for the destruction of my patina. Instead, the scaffold crew arrived carrying not sandblasters but soft brushes and sealant. Hank had bribed them with tickets to a monster truck rally. They opted for gentle preservation rather than abrasive renewal. Bureaucracy lost this round. To celebrate, I delivered a fresh punchline. Guess I'm getting a spa day instead of a peel. Turns out even stone can benefit from exfoliation, just gently, like scrubbing a cat that knows karate. Thunderous applause. Pigeons did aerial donuts. One worker popped confetti made from shredded performance reviews. So here I stand permanently, but now also figuratively, on the precipice of comedic legend. In 80 years, I'll still be wisecracking about whatever hoverboards have replaced HR memos And office workers, or their holographic descendants, will still need respite from spreadsheets or quantum sheet equivalents. Birds will still need someplace to poop and laugh, and I, Rocky the Punchline Perch, will continue serving jokes drier than my mouth in August, yet fresher than the guano that seasons my shoulders. Because purpose, I've discovered, isn't chiseled at the foundry, it's carved joke by joke, laugh by laugh, exhaled by strangers on lunch break who raise their eyes for a moment and realize the skyline is alive and has killer timing. So if you ever find yourself downtown at noon, look up. Ignore the phones, forget the memos. Listen for a gravelly voice powered by rainwater acoustics. Remember, folks, in the grand cathedral of existence, we're all just gargoyles trying to keep the bad vibes out. The least we can do is make each other laugh while the rainstorms pass. Then smile, toss a crumb to Morris the pigeon, and go back to your cubicle lighter by precisely one laugh. From my vantage point, that matters more than polished limestone or perfect posture. After all, laughter may not erode stone, but it sure sculpts souls.